going to be talking about Alexandria fragrances, and before we do anything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the names of these fragrances that I got, and we're going to be reviewing, just in case, some of you want to know how long to stick around if you don't want to watch the whole thing. So we're going to be doing this in order. So in order, we're going to be talking about 1981X. It's a clone of Naxos by Xerjoff. Apple Crumb, which is a clone of Oajan. Arabian Horse, Herod. Fire of God, God of Fire. Fame 15 is Andy Warhol. Gourmand Kiss is Feb Delicious. Honey X, Ani X. Monarch, Clive Christian X. Pacific Coast is Pacific Chill. And Upside Down is Initio Side Effect. So that's what we're going to be doing in this order. So let's start from the beginning. I got Duas. People told me to get Duas. I said, okay, I'll go get Duas. Duas. I think the most expensive cologne fragrances on the market. And when I did, people were like, Alexandria. You gotta try Alexandria, it's so much better. So I'm like, okay. So I did. There's some critique. Maybe not critique. Conspiracy. I don't really know what you want to call it, but not verifying the source at all. But apparently, Dua, Alexandria, they source their oils from the same source, the fragrance meaning, and then they just rebottle them in America and put in their own carrier oils. So basically there's a bunch of people saying, bro, it's the same thing, except some people say that the carrier oil Dua uses sucks and they can smell this lingering. I don't get that yet. I will say I just sprayed Duas in anticipation of this. Imagine the Fire God. And 32 hours later, I can still smell it. Extra incredibly long-lasting fragrances. So, but from what I hear, almost unanimously, Alexandria is better. So it's okay. Went to their website, and just like with Dua, just basically ordered random fragrances. So I got this. This is a discovery set. Definitely one of the nicest looking presentations I've ever seen. These are extracts. Gray box. Magnetic. And look at that. Awesome. Now, this is curated by me. I picked these out, admittedly, a little by random. I didn't really pay that much attention because it's more important for me to figure out maybe new fragrances that I like, or the quality, than the actual one-to-one clone aspect, for me anyways. And I don't need 52 clones of the same thing, so I picked a lot of random stuff, and I'm excited about it. But first off, Alexandria, the bottle's very simplistic, very expensive, not as expensive as Dua. You can get full size. My biggest problem so far with Alexandria is, let's say you're searching for Naxos, right? If you go on their search engine on alexandria.com or fragrance or whatever, put in Naxos, you'll get nowhere. Whereas Dua, let's say I want to see if they have Pacific Chill. I put Pacific Chill in, and their version comes up. And I don't know if they have a version. This is just me. This is a hypothetical. Alexandria is not that way. And a lot of the names have nothing to do with resemblance, the original fragrance. Aventus is called Brasilia. It's like, what? I would never think that. Apple Crumb is Oajan. I would never think that. So Duo's much easier, much easier. I opened this. Fast shipping came with this. Beautiful. It also came with this. This is a sampler set. Look at that. Free. And if you watched my Dua video, or if you didn't, there's a little plot twist here. I was really harsh on them for not including samples. There's some companies out there, most of them are third parties. They order the fragrance, they list it on their website, and then they sell it. If you are making your own fragrances, there is no reason not to include free samples. You would be an idiot not to. A lot of people that order from cologne houses like Alexandria or Dua, they don't know a lot about fragrances. Either they want a dupe, but they don't want to afford, or they don't want to pay the full price for the real thing, or they heard someone say, hey man, that Baccarat 540 is real good, and they just Google it. Oh, there's alt. Okay, I'll take it. My point being, samples cost you nothing if you're a manufacturer, nothing. But you have these samples that you can give out, and people that have never smelled the fragrance before they smell it, they love it, and then they go back and buy it. It makes no sense to hoard your samples and not give people free samples. So already Alexandria is one. I think Alexandria as a whole is a better business model than Dua. And the reason why I'm comparing it to Dua is just because it's the closest thing. These clone houses are basically identical in a lot of aspects. And these are the two that it came with. These are samples. Now, apparently, these are samples of a new release. These fragrances are not available on the website. And that, I can't tell if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing because if I really like it, I'm going to be constantly on the website trying to find out when it comes out. It's a bad thing in that if I want to order it, I want to look it up on the website and order it. And also, I have no idea what these fragrances are, so this one is leaking just a little bit, and I think these are 2 mLs. And I have no idea what this is. If you know what this is, let me know. This is also a little rubbed off. Marani, I can't tell. I really can't. It's yellow juice, from what I can tell. Alexandria does not color any of their fragrances, so if it's yellow, it got there, honestly. And I think that that's just the coolest little atomizer, so we're just going to test these little sample sprays. 1, 2, 4. If anything will come out, holy cow. I don't know if it will. There we go. Okay. You gotta really want it. You gotta really want it. That's alright. Nothing wrong with that. But that's another thing. These aren't tiny little dudes. I mean, this is a good 2, if not 3 mLs. It's a good size for a sample. I think this could get you by a couple weeks, honestly. Especially with these being very highly concentrated, right? They're extracts. I have no idea what this is, but it definitely smells a little oudy to me. Oudy, rich, complex, not in your face, very passive. Also a fair amount of fruitiness, but definitely not in your face. So, if you know what this is, let me know. I wouldn't rush right out to buy that one, though. That's not wonderful, but again, there's nothing to lose here with these samplers. This is Miraculous Oud. And I have to imagine that this is a clone of Oud Maracuja, which is a very apparently popular fragrance right now. And I first learned about this on the, I knew about it, but found out how it was so popular. The Fragrantica Awards voted best niche fragrance, so I actually have a sample of this coming, so this is kind of cool. Now I get to compare if this is indeed Oud Maracuja. There we go. Like I said, man, you gotta want it. You gotta want it. They're not the easiest. That was very strong. That is very strong. Oud Maracuja's main notes, oud and leather, which is what stumped me so much as to why people would say it's the best niche fragrance, oud and leather. Just two fragrances notes that people don't typically love. That is a really weird fragrance. It's like a citrus peach nectarine mixed with leather and oud in the base. This is gonna get you reported if you try to wear this to the office, man. Then they're gonna let you in the door. They're gonna say that smelly somebody. Go back, take a bath. It's not bad. I actually like it. But what a divisive scent profile. I think this is Oud Maracuja. Kind of reminds me of walking into like a furniture store. That's what it kind of reminds me of. So, excited to get my Oud Maracuja and compare the two and see if that really is Oud Maracuja, but I believe that it is. Okay, getting to this. I love this. I love everything about this. I love the fact that you can get 5 mLs. That's a good amount of juice right there. To put that into context, travel sprays that will last you a month or longer of everyday use, if you're not crazy heavy-handed, are 8. And so all of these could potentially last you a month. And so I have 10 of these. It could almost be a year's fragrance. Especially, not everybody wears fragrance every day. So it's possible that I spend $60 and have a year's worth of fragrance. That's kind of crazy. So, I love this. I love everything about this so far, man. Great experience, great branding. Let's try 1981X. Cologne of... I always remember 1861, and then I hear 1981. I'm just like, what year was it? 1861 Naxos. I also have Naxos coming on the way as well. I really like Naxos. I don't think a lot of people knew because I didn't, but Naxos. I don't know if you want to say clone, but it is, if nothing else, heavily inspired by Mugler's Pure Havane, which I think is a phenomenal fragrance and is discontinued. So let's see. I think clone houses are really good for that purpose. Those hard to find, incredibly expensive or discontinued fragrances. I think they're awesome for that purpose. The bigger bottles do not have nearly as much of a problem with that spray nozzle, the atomizer. Yeah, very similar to the Pure Havane kind of vibe. It's rich, it's complex, but it's also a little playful. It's got some sort of fruity note up top. And then I'm assuming in the dry down you're going to get more of that richness and that complexity. I think it's because the atomizers are smaller, but they definitely don't project like the Duas at first. And I hate the Dua atomizers, I really do. But yeah, it's kind of more of a rich, complex, but I think the atomizers are kicking off a lot less. It's not projecting as much as I would think that it would, but it's good. I look forward to getting my Naxos, and I can test it side by side. This next one is Oajan Apple Crumb. One thing in particular, in regards to a couple of these as well. Not every fragrance is going to be an all-star performer like designer niche fragrance. And I think a good example of that is Abercrombie and Fitch Fierce. These EDT concentrations. So some of these cologne houses make them extracts, and even though they might be close in price or something like that, you might get a better bang for your buck, so to speak, because these are extracts. So, and actually one of these, the next one, is the exact reason why I got it. So first off though, this is Oajan Cologne Apple Crumb. There you go. I'm gonna start doing 2 sprays because the atomizers on these, they're just little samplers obviously, but the atomizers are a little weak and I want to try to do my best to compare it to Dua as fair as possible. Very much it's powerful, it's strong. I wasn't expecting the fruity notes as much. It's sultry, it's gourmand, it's in your face, which I really like because Oajan not so much. Parfums de Marly has been getting a lot of pushback for their longevity and their performance lately. But at the base you have an incredible fragrance. You have a wonderful rich gourmand that could be masculine, it could be feminine. It does not smell like some of the gourmands. It's like, it smells like you could eat it. Oajan, not so much. Oajan is just sweet and perfumey. It does not smell like a food. But you do have a bit of sort of apple pie kind of vibe, but really right off the bat you have this huge honey blast, and it's good. It's good. It's good. Also, I did the same thing with the Duas as well. A lot of these cologne houses, they do not allow for maceration, which means they're not going to be very strong at the beginning. You have to let them sit for a while because they're just churning out batches. This batch could have been made 2 weeks ago. You need that maturation. There's two different words that people use: maceration and maturation. They both mean the same thing. Maceration is like the actual scientific term, something macerating. If you think about it like a whiskey barrel or something, you put in the alcohol and the or bourbon, whatever, and you have the oak barrels flavoring and macerating that liquor, that alcohol, to take on that flavor. It's the same thing with this. You put in the notes, it takes some time for it to sit. There is a natural lifespan. Things just don't continue to get better and better and better forever, but I'm going to be a little bit gracious being the word, but I do see what they're saying now. All of these Duas, they do have a kind of a lingering, all of them having a little bit of a lingering fragrance. It doesn't really bother me that much from the oil, whereas I feel like this is a much more neutral oil. You're really just getting the notes, but I here that these have not macerated. And then you have the other word, maturate, meaning mature. So both being the same thing, different words. And then I also use the word steep sometimes. Something steeps in alcohol and is maturing. This next one is Arabian horse, and this is the example I was talking about. This is Herod. Great profile, incredibly disappointing performance. So if you have something like this, maybe, just maybe, extra concentration, you can take your fragrance and actually make a better version because it lasts longer and projects more. And as you can see, all of these you can also take this off too. I don't know why that would help you, but maybe it will, maybe it won't. Let's try it. 1, 2, and we'll do 2. It's much more of a showerhead kind of, instead of a concentrated blast. I think the atomizers are just not great on these samplers. Okay, this is much more dark on the opening than Herod. It's just kind of struggling right now. Herod doesn't really come to life until the dry down, though, when you actually get the differentiation and the tobacco coming out strong. And for some reason, I don't think Herod is going to be something that I can wear routinely, because I go nose blind to it almost immediately, which I don't understand because they're not common fragrances. It's just, I think it just all goes back to projection performance. It's just not great on Herod. And maybe it comes down to the actual profile, because Olivier Pichot, the creator of it, I've never tried a fragrance of his that is so toned down. A Mont Blanc Explorer, Eros Flame being 2 examples. So, I don't know, it could just be something about this profile that is just doomed to not perform or project. And also, you have a company like Alexandria and Dua. If they're going to improve it, it's going to be an improvement on performance and projection. But these 2 fragrance companies are trying to replicate it as much as they possibly can. What do I mean by that? If it is Herod itself that does not perform great because of the notes and the combination, companies like Dua and Alexandria are not going to change that because they want to be known as the companies that can do one-to-one replicas, meaning even if they make it quote-unquote better, that's not what they want. They want to be just like it. Let's go on to number 4, and this is Fire of God. No cute names here. This is a clone of one of my favorite new fragrances, God of Fire by Stephanie Humphrey Lucas 777. This is another fragrance, kind of proof of utility of these clone houses. The God of Fire is $200, $250 typically for the small bottle. Very expensive. I have a Clive Christian clone in here. If these clone houses can do it and do it well, there is utility in these things for $400 or $500 fragrances. No one wants to pay that. Nobody wants to pay that. Okay. And this is the new Fruity Blast fragrance. Oh my gosh, it's so good. That is so good. Oh, that is so good. a little synthetic at first. Bit of that alcohol twinge, not a burn, just a twinge. And I have this one right here by Dua, which is a mashup that Alexandria doesn't do. Dua does these mashup of two fragrances of God of Fire as well as Louis Vuitton's Imagination. And it's incredible. But God of Fire is incredible on its own. You're getting this super, super sweet, citrus fruity blast. Again, it's not. There's some fragrances like I think Eros Energy. It literally smells like you can drink it. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a sophisticated fruitiness, if there exists such a thing. And for those of you who might be joining us for one of the first or, a few times here, putting all of these down, letting them dry down, we're going to go back and sample all of them at the end again once they've dried down. But I know that a couple of these, like Herod and Oajan, do not typically perform that well on paper. So it's going to be at a bit of a disservice. This next one, Fame 15. This is another example of the utility of clone houses, because this is a clone of a discontinued fragrance by Bond number 9, Andy Warhol. Now this fragrance, and the reason why it got discontinued is probably one of the stupidest things you'll ever hear. They used the man's name, they used the man's face on the bottle with no permission. They never got permission to use it. So when his estate took legal action against him, they discontinued. I'm sure they also had a pretty sizable settlement that went along with that. But the fragrances, the original Andy Warhol's, $800 now because they're rare. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So this is another example, I think, about why these clone houses, that is so strong. Oh my gosh, that is strong. This is another example of why these clone houses are important and the utility of them, because some of these fragrances get discontinued and there's no way to use them, access them. Pure Havana, another example, fragrance I just talked about, discontinued. Was it L'Oreal, I believe, bought Mugler and discontinued their most profitable, successful fragrances, driving it right into the ground, like Pure Malt is another example. That is so strong. Right off the bat, you have this huge sort of sweet, earthy blast. As it sits, it's getting definitely staying with that woodsy, earthy kind of tone. I'm not getting like a distinguished vetiver leather kind of note. It's kind of all just mixed in. This is going to be crazy dry down, I can tell you that. But that by far has been the best performing, highest projecting fragrance. Next. We have another example, Gourmand Kiss. This is Dior's Fève Delicieuses, which is discontinued, at least in the United States, and I think you can get like a 0.5 mil, which is a joke, for like $300, and it might still be in circulation in Europe, but in America it's not. So, Fève Delicieuses. Gosh darn. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the thing, man. I keep spraying my hand. My hand is gonna smell like niche fragrances altogether. That's okay. It's a very simple profile here. You have sort of this baked goods kind of vibe. Simplistic, delicate, delicate, delicate. Sweetness, sugariness. Kind of reminds you of like a brown sugar body scrub with just a tad of that bit of a citrus cloying sugar dessert-esque vibe too. It's really good. It's really good. Would I pay $500 for that? Not in your life. But another reason why clones, they have their place. They have their place in Fragcom. So next one. This is easy one to find. This is a clone of Ani X. This is Hani X. No desire to try to hide what this one is. I like that. I like the forthcoming. And this is another reason why clone houses have purpose, because what if you want to invest in Ani X, which is a $200 $170 to $200 with a bigger bottle, that is. That's a lot of money. So if I can pay, a couple dollars and get this, maybe, just maybe, I can know if I want to invest in the full size. I've never tried Ani X, so I'm looking forward to this. It's Ani. More of that citrus blast on the front end. You'll never find, at least within the house of Nishan, a more divided opinion than Ani versus Ani X. Some people say Ani X, Ani perfected. Others say Ani X seems like the trial run, and Ani seems like the predecessor, the better predecessor. So I'm excited. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that was the easiest one so far. I'll do one more. Let's try it. But I don't have, usually, I'll do this. I'll try to get that alcohol off. None of these have had alcohol burns so far, so I don't know what that is an indication of. With these being extracts, you have much higher oil to alcohol level, so, or if it really is the fact that this alcohol carrier just that much higher quality and better than fragrances like Dua. Anytime that you have a strong lemon note in the top, you run the risk of it coming off like Pine Sol or like some sort of cleaning product. This doesn't do that. It does a pretty good job. It's in your face. It's almost, like not Aventus, but L'Aventure by El Hedermain, which was the other Aventus clone. Subbed out the pineapple for the lemon. That's what this is like. Just a very strong lemon in your face. You don't get the vanilla. You don't get the spice or anything other than that. Until you're gonna have to wait till the dry down. Which at this point is not now. So we'll just put that to the side. Okay. Next. We have Monarch. And this is a clone of Clive Christian's X. Clive Christian is maybe second only to Tom Ford in relation to total rip-offs, in my opinion. Fragrance One is up there, I think, too. But it's like $500-$600 for a bottle. I'm interested because I've never tried it. I'm interested to see if their profiles are, I don't want to say worth it nothing. No amount of funny smelling alcohol is worth $500 or $600 in my opinion, but it is just my opinion. let's try this. 2, 3. Got some better atomizers, so that's good. Towards the end, I don't know why. Maybe I'm just perfecting the art of the atomizer. Okay, that's weird. That is a weird fragrance. I was expecting something masculine and maybe citrus. This is the opposite. This is spicy. This is Bijan-esque. This is very Bijan-esque. Royal, regal, expensive. Smells expensive. But just super, super spicy, aromatic. Pepper. Pretty much the only thing I can get is pepper. It seems like there's a lot of notes going on there. And it's bitter and it's complex, but it's Cologne is, I think, an example of a simple pepper fragrance. I think Cologne has fewer than 9 notes, and you can pick out those when you have fragrances like this. That reminds me of Bijan, because Bijan is the kitchen sink. It's everything thrown in there. So always reminds me of Bijan when I get complicated, complex, spicy fragrances. Next one. Pacific Coast. Pacific Coast. And I knew I had to try this. This is from Louis Vuitton. And this is Pacific Chill. I really like Imagination. I didn't want to like Louis Vuitton. First off, I like Louis Vuitton, the design house, but expensive. So I didn't want to like it. I was like, I hope these suck, and they don't. They're actually really good. So let's try Pacific Chill, which between that and I want to try Caribs as well. So I'm looking for kind of a more niche summer fragrance, because I don't like summer fragrances, so I'm trying to get something that makes me excited for summertime. So let's hope this is it. 1, 2, 3. There we go. I'm gonna do a couple on that one. That's good. Oh man, that is a huge kind of grapefruit blast there. So tart citrus. I can't tell if that's just a really tart lemon or if that actually is grapefruit. Now I'm getting more of an orange vibe. Maybe all of them. Bro, remember when I told you that some fragrances, it's like you could drink them? That's this. Gorgeous sort of mandarin orange now. Bitter, citrus, very strong in your face. Not salty, not oceanic, not what I expected at all. Kind of more like, kind of like a orange grove growing up in Southwest Florida. This was a very prominent smell. Backyard, we used to have grapefruit trees and lots of citrus. Sometimes the citrus would, not sometimes, every day, we'd have the grapefruits fall, and you'd have everything lives in Florida, so you'd have animals coming along eating like half-eaten grapefruit, so you'd have the smell of citrus all over the place. Very much reminds me of that. We had grapefruit trees, orange trees, and coconut trees, or palm trees. Coconut trees, I don't think they've ever been called that. It's really good. I'm interested to see the dry down on that, to see if it develops more, becomes more complex. There are some fragrances. Eros Energy did a pretty good job. I like that better than Eros Energy. that's about it. Most of these fragrances that you have that have very strong sort of fruity notes are also very sugary. Something like the Herba Pura or the Tiziana Terenzi. Very much amplified clubbing fragrances. They're sugary, they're sweet, they're energetic, but this takes very much like a gourmand type of edible citrus as well. I think it's really nice. This is the last one. And this is Upside Down. The name of it's Upside Down. And this right here is a clone of Side Effect by Initio. I do not like Initio. I have never liked any Initios that I've tried. Oud for Greatness. Very subjective, because I know it's a great fragrance. Objectively, it's a great fragrance. I've never liked it, so for me it's awful. But I've never tried Side Effect. So, if there is a Initio fragrance that I'm gonna like on paper that fits the notes, kind of notes that I like, it's Side Effect. So we're gonna give Initio one last try here for me. Let's give it a go. Oh, immediate. And one more. That's the biggest disservice, but I mean, look at how small the atomizer is too. Or not the atomizer, the tube there. Okay, right off the bat, that is delightful. You're getting this huge blast. This is like what I wished Herod and Oajan were performing like. Right off the bat, you get like this huge cinnamon blast. Earthy tones, sweetness, dessert, gourmand type of fragrance. That's exactly the kind of fragrance that I usually go for. I'm excited to let that sit. And we'll see what it does. So, 10 fragrances. Now that we've had our initial impression, let's go back and sample them. I don't know why I just closed this box. Ain't no way I'm remembering what these are in order. So, but first off, I want to try this Oud Miraculous one. This is very much like a furniture store. I was confused as to why people voted that the best niche fragrance, and I'm still confused why people voted that the best niche fragrance, but I digress. Let's try 1981X. Very nice, much sweeter and softer than Pure Havana because it's lacking that distinct tobacco. Sweet, perfumey, really good fragrance. Does it blow me away? No, it does not blow me away. So I don't know. I don't know if Naxos will blow me away. But it's a very sweet, much sweeter than I thought it would be. So I give that an 8 out of 10. Really good though. Number 2 is the Oajan. This to me actually smells a lot like Camra. Smells a lot more like Camra than Camra smells like Angel Share. I think these two are more related. Or even the Kuhua. It's really good. It's a really good fragrance. But it's also that Oajan and Herod. And I don't know about Carlisle, but I've heard Carlisle and Habdon are the same, just not great performers. And if you have a fragrance that you like it, but you can't smell it, no one can smell it, it's like, what's the point? But that's a 9 out of 10 profile. I just don't know about performance. Herod, Arabian Horse, just not performing. It very much disappoints me because I want to like Herod, and I do like Herod. But I can't smell it. It does not project. It does not perform. And on top of that, I think I get nose blind to it very quick, so I have to give that a 7 out of 10. It's my least favorite so far. Godfire. It's settled down a bit. I think that would probably also, in addition to macerating, perform much better on skin. If you have not tried this though, this is a great option to do so because Godfire is one of the, if not the best, new fruit-based fragrances. And you can make the argument, as I have, almost every fragrance has fruit in the top. So fruit-based fragrance, but this is the star. Better than Herba Puro. Better than Tatiana Terenzi. Better than Eros Flame. That's a 9 out of 10 profile right there. Next, Andy Warhol, Fame 15. It's a really good fragrance. It's not as in your face now in the dry down. It's earthy, it's tonal, it's spicy. It's not fresh, it's not floral. It's not in your face. It's a solid 8 out of 10. This is Fève Delicios, Gourmand Kiss. Sugar cookie kind of vibe. There's nothing sharp in it like I thought there would be. Just sort of a brown sugar cookie type fragrance. 8 out of 10. Onyx, literally the same name. Now you're getting much more of that Ani type take. Now you get the Ani for sure. I don't know, See, here's the thing, the top note is so fleeting that to me, the difference between Ani and Ani X, that biggest difference, actually I have it here. I don't know why, the difference between Ani and Ani X. In the dry down, it's so similar. It's so similar. The reason why I say that is just because I don't know if it's necessarily worth it to pay that much more. You get a cheaper Ani X for like $140, $150. You get Ani for $110. If the main difference is going to be that fruit blast at the top, I just don't know. I don't know if it's worth the extra money. Excuse me. I don't know if it's worth the extra money considering the fact that people typically aren't going to even smell the top note. You know, they're going to smell the base. They're going to smell the mids by the time you're around other people, right? That's what they're going to smell. So it's really good. It's really, really good though. I don't want to create any impression that it's not. I'm just wondering if that is better than the original. And I think the reason why the two different parties are so divided on it is because they are so similar. You have a lot of different variations of fragrances that are so incredibly different that it's like you almost have to pick one. Do I like this one or do I like that? And it's easier to pick one based on the fact that they are different. So 9 out of 10. I'll give it another 9 out of 10. Okay, next we have the Clive Christian. Got 3 more to go. You know what's kind of funny though? What's kind of funny is that Oud Maracuja is actually the best performing fragrance so far. This is just so Bijan, spicy. To me, it smells like you spent a lot of money on the fragrance. It's just not my type of profile with the aromatic spiciness. And this is exactly why it pays never wear it. Yeah, the Oud Maracuja is actually working better than anything else. It's crazy. 7 out of 10. Pacific Chill is next. Pacific Coast. Gosh, that is good. I can see why it did so well. You still have that fruitiness. You still have that citrus blast. It's very, very prominent. But you also have a bit of, I don't know what it is. It's just a little bit more complexity, a little bit more firmness, a little bit more something coming in there. I can't tell if it's a little fougere. I can't tell if it's a little floral. But you have something coming in, backing that up. I could see this being a go-to in spring or summer, but it's definitely very unisex. And my biggest question would be, is it too feminine leaning? But it's very, one thing I want to stress about that one, that is going to get the W for least offensive mass appealing fragrance, because no one's gonna hate that fragrance. It's a really good fragrance. Last one, Initio Side Effect. Okay, that's just really good. The cinnamon, that nuttiness has kind of died down a little bit. But you have this broad and bright spice coming out. That's really good. That's a 9 out of 10. None of these I don't think are 10 out of 10s, but I think they need to macerate a little bit longer. They might be. Let's group these together. I have 4 Gourmands, right? I have the Oajan, Herod. Herod's not really a Gourmand. It's vanilla. A little bit in there, but let's go. Oajan, Gourmand Kiss, and Upside Down. Initio Side Effects, Upside Down, takes it. That's the best one, I think. And then we're talking about fruity. That's a tough one because God of Fire and Pacific Chill are so different. Pacific Chill is a citrus heavy balm. God of Fire is very much just a fruity, floral kind of overall package. I would have to actually, this is shocking to me because I love God of Fire. I'll have to give it to Pacific Chill. And then spicy fragrance, I would say between, let's go between tobacco, let's go between Herod and, well no, let's do Herod and Ani for our vanilla fragrances. Which I don't really get a whole lot, honestly. Tobacco and vanilla are so paired up, but I don't get a huge vanilla blast from Honey X either. I think that citrus kind of taken me away from it. Maybe I should have put Honey X in the citrus as it would have lost, but yeah, I say Honey X, but I think almost everything beat Herod, to be honest with you. And then 1981 X, the 1861 Naxos. I'm excited to get the full bottle just because I like that Pure Havana. I really like it, but the best one, my favorite, actually I'll put Oud Maracuja was the best performing, but it could have just have been sitting longer, macerating longer. My favorite was Pacific Coast. That's what's going to get the W here. I do wonder though if I had not already experienced God of Fire, if I would have picked God of Fire, because God of Fire is so good. So those are the two, and this is what I was going to do. They also have another sampler pack at Alexandria where you can get travel sprays, 4 travel sprays. So I was going to go on there and order that in, I can't remember if they're 8 mil or 10 mils, most of them are 8 mils, and get more of a full size. But if I were to do that, I would use Pacific Coast, Upside Down, God of Fire, and probably another one. Maybe the Oajan one, but I just don't think don't think it's my performer. And I think for this, if I want to wear Oajan, I'm gonna wear Lattafa's Camera or Kuhua. Same vibe, very similar note profile. Better, just better, in my opinion. It is a $30 fragrance. Those price, money doesn't equal better all the time. So, thank you all. Overall, I think my duo fragrances perform better than Alexandria. But comparing these two, I can see what people are saying about this carrier oil maybe having a bit of a distinct smell. But they did perform better. But I'm just wondering how much of a disadvantage Alexandria is at having just brewed these. I can tell they're just brewed because there's so much in there that's not clicking, that's not projecting. So I'm just gonna have to come back to it at another time and figure it out. But as of right now, if you find a fragrance on Dua, check if it's on Alexandria. If it's not, obviously go with Dua, because Dua has a much larger offering right now. But if you find the same one, that's hard, man. That's hard. I'd say the slight edge still goes to Alexandria, but I'm still gonna order both, especially in those fragrances that are discontinued, hard to find, or just so incredibly expensive. So, thank you all for the recommendations. This was great. I look forward to getting my travel size sprays and incorporating these in my monthly wears